Hi, and welcome to our hot seat interview here at the Mentor Graphics booth at DAC 2012. My name's Paul Dempsey, I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Tech Design Forum, and I'm joined right now by Mark Mitchell, who's Director of Embedded Tools for Mentor Embedded. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Paul.
So we'll go straight into it because we're doing these as quick interviews. Seen quite a bit of cloud computing stuff here at the show. What's Mentor's approach to cloud computing, also indeed cloud sourcing for the embedded market?
Right, and I'm going to take, as you said, the embedded part of that, not so much the EDA part of it. But
absolutely.
But I think both are really interesting. Crowdsourcing has been prevalent in embedded now for a while, largely through open source software development, which is, of course, a crowd of people getting together to develop something, Linux or Android, together in common. But I think that's sort of just the tip of the iceberg. The technology or the trend is becoming so prevalent in so many parts of the industry that it's hard for me to imagine it doesn't start impacting how we develop a lot of other parts of the system as well. And cloud computing is something that's largely embedded, has not yet been touched. So you do see devices talking to the cloud, but the process of software development has not really been impacted by cloud computing. And I think that's highly unlikely to, as a state, to be stable. So, right, so it's kind of hitting everything. So, but today we're still, the average embedded software developer has an IDE and a compiler and a debugger and a JTAG probe, talking to some device, exactly the same way they did 20 years ago.
Right.
So one of the things we're really excited about is how do we start taking parts of that process and putting them into the cloud and leveraging the social benefits of that, the sharing and the sort of ability to quickly re-provision things and so forth. So there's a few number of things that we're thinking about down that direction, and nothing that's ready to be announced yet. But I think that cloud computing impact is coming soon.
Oh, it's going to be huge. Is that something you see as one of your differentiators in the embedded market? There are a number of big players there. How does Mentor try to stand out from the other 800-pound gorillas going around that space?
Right, well, I do think it's something, obviously we don't know exactly what our competitors are working on, but it's something that I think is very, very important to our strategy, and so it is something that we'll be doing a lot with over the next coming 6 months, year, 18 months, and I think it will be really differentiated. There's some other things that we do pretty differently as well. The whole idea of crowdsourcing and collaboration is something that we take as a foundational aspect of how to do embedded software development. Okay. So I think some of our competitors are still in the mindset that they're going to develop a very nice operating system or set of tools and polish off all the square edges on it until it's all perfect, and then put it out there and people will just use it. And we think that it's something where, in fact, we and our silicon partners and the end software developers will collaboratively develop a lot of these solutions. Okay. So I think that's a fundamental difference.
So they're almost like an ecosystem thing there, that like people are seeing over here in EDA.
Yeah, I think that's right, that we have to facilitate that ecosystem. It can't just be about us producing perfect bits to hand to the world. It has to be about us helping to maybe moderate a conversation and help to co-develop a solution.
So, another thing is you've been dragged down here with all of these silicon designers to this show, to DAC. Mm-hmm. What are your impressions? We're hearing some interesting things coming out of Gary Smith about the intersection increasingly. He's the guy who famously said it's the software stupid, but
right.
The intersection between the embedded market and the EDA market. So, when you're here, what's the message that you're trying to send out when you're here? But also, what are you seeing around the show that sort of like, if you like, makes those connections a lot more explicit? Right,
well, I'm actually, my primary purpose in being here at DAC is to give a tutorial, and the tutorial is about software development pre-silicon. And so one of the really interesting things to me is that we're starting to see some data that when you look at the overall cost of getting an SOC to market, that cost is actually dominated by the software development cost of enabling the SOC, not the hardware. And that goes back to Gary's quote. And so when you think about that, then Mentor's in this really interesting and unique position of having all the traditional EDA design flow to get the chip built, but also the embedded software expertise to help those SOC customers with the software enablement part. And I do think you see that around the show. So a number of people talking about virtual platforms or emulation or FPGA bring up or other kinds of ways of getting that done. And one of the interesting things is it's not just about getting the software done ahead of the silicon release, there's things that those platforms can show you about the behavior of the system that you can't get out of real silicon.
Right.
So even after the silicon's available, there are really good reasons to want virtual environments that you can use for software development after the fact.
So just to wrap, I mean, perhaps maybe more software developers should be coming here as well as hardware developers in future.
Well, I think maybe that's true. The worlds are still pretty far apart. So the average software developer can't read VHDL and Verilog, and isn't necessarily that comfortable even just with the idea that there's analog out there in the world, right? The software, we software people are trained from zeros and ones from very early age. And to some extent vice versa, I think that, but I do think that it's really important that we start getting more collaboration between the hardware and software teams, even within the major SOC companies, because so much of the environment is software. The hardware doesn't facilitate the software, or the software doesn't take advantage of the hardware, nobody's winning.
Mark, thanks very much. And thanks to all of you for watching. Check back for more of our hot seat interviews from here at the Design Automation Conference 2012.